Thank you everyone for tuning in. We are going to be addressing in this Q&A session today the topic of rulings on tattoos, as some people might be curious. Is this permissible? Is it not? Things like hair dye, what about something like that? Or more than anything, people are curious and also wondering, is cosmetic procedures allowed? What about Botox and fillers for men and especially women? This is where it's more common. So, we'd like to get enlightened on this particular topic. We'll turn it to Sheikh.
أحسنت. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Once again, thank you for facilitating this, and for those who listen to us and participate by asking your questions and sharing your feedback. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all more knowledge and action, inshallah. The issue of changing the look that we have to supposedly make ourselves look better is something that perhaps has always existed and now has become a lot more sophisticated. There's so much more that can be done. Back in the day, it was very limited to what people could do. Nowadays, there's so much that could be done, and this is an important reflection. To start with, I want to say, and this is very, I think, important to consider, besides the very particular jurisprudential matter or question, in general, focusing so much on one's physical appearance and outlook rather than mental and spiritual growth is definitely not healthy. It is definitely not the etiquettes of a traveler to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who wants to gain nearness to God, one who wants to gain better statuses in paradise. They should not be so much focused on their physical appearance or outlook, though Islam encourages us to present ourselves well within reason, and even the use of perfume, combing one's hair, and perhaps even dressing up clean and sharp. All of these things are encouraged, especially when you go to the masjid for prayers. There's the concept of khudu zinatakum. Take your beautification to every masjid or every time of prayers. That could be in the kulli masjid, every time of prayers. So one presents themselves well when they want to pray, and not in competition of dressing up and so on, rather than good presentation, because now, this is part of this, spiritual journey, is to beautify ourselves spiritually. One, also does their part in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, and presentation for a spiritual journey. But in terms of getting so much focused on the physical look and how we present ourselves, to the point that one feels the need to change what God has already provided them, the beauty that He has put in them, and therefore has to go through even surgeries or put things or whatever it might be, perhaps even tattoos falls under that, and other techniques that are used. I guess what you mentioned, the Botox and whatever else, and these plastic surgeries, all of these things, if one focuses on that so much and goes down that path, this is essentially part of materialism. Okay, focused on the physical and material things, rather than the spiritual outlook, then one would lose direction. That is the problem. Now, in terms of the jurisprudence, Before I get into the jurisprudential point, I want to point this out. The most important layer of beauty that is presented in the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt and in the people of heaven, okay, is their spiritual okay? Beauty in the character, beauty in the heart, a beautiful heart that's so kind, generous, forgiving. That is seen in the eyes. You know, one could wear lenses to change the color of perhaps their eye, or even I was told now there are injections for that. Okay, and some may even go and do one with one color and the other one with the other color. Anything that actually is considered to be deforming is not permissible, by the way. Someone is trying to, putting tattoo on the face that makes the face look ugly, for example. Okay, that by the standards of normal people, it's seen as ugly, then that's not allowed. Okay, but in general, it is allowed, permissible to just wear regular, tattoo, let's say in parts of the skin, if it's not considered to be deforming or making oneself look ugly, and not putting anything devilish or anything problematic from that sense. In itself, it is not, there's no objection to it, or it's not haram. However, it is not encouraged, especially when it falls under the changing of what God has created. If it falls under that, there's a problem. Therefore, it's best to avoid these things. But besides that, we need to remember that we're not children or teenagers trying to now discover ourselves and focus on our physical outlook and beauty. You know, it's a common thing for children when they get to a certain age, as some of you are parents and know what I'm saying, you know, children before a certain age, they don't care. Whatever you put on them, they don't care, okay? Clothes and whatever. At some age, and that varies for different children. Some of them sooner, some of them later, and some of them maybe not. But at some age, they start, being concerned about what they wear, about how they look, about their hair and hairstyle, and so on and so on. It's normal for a teenager to be so focused on their hair, so focused on their physical body, so focused on their outlook, and stand in front of the mirror for a long time and do so. But if as one grows older, if they're stuck there, there's a problem. We need to grow beyond that and not be stuck as a child who is, or a teenager who just sees this. Now, I hope we understand that this is only a vehicle. Whatever's, the face, the skin, all of this is the vehicle. And no matter what we do to it, one day we have to leave it behind, and it'll be buried, as they say, 6 feet under. It's the ruh, it's the soul, it's the core that remains and lives on. And so let's focus more on beautifying that than the physical beautification. Now, again, in terms of the jurisprudential ruling, in general, those things are permissible unless they fall under deformity and so on, or if the procedure has to be performed by the opposite gender. If there's mahram and non-mahram issue, non-mahram cannot perform these procedures because it is not a medical necessity. Medical necessities, there's an exemption there. But in these cases, again, unless there is a major problem that they are trying to correct. So somebody's been through an accident and there's a major deformity that they have to correct, then obviously that is something that is excluded. But otherwise, it would be problematic to have one who is of the opposite gender to perform those procedures. And if it's not making oneself deformed or have devilish figures and things like that, in general, it is permissible. But hopefully, we focus more on the spiritual side.
Right. So basically, to recap, it is permissible to get tattoos as long as it's not deforming or devilish, and it's seen as something that is normal. It's not seen as abnormal among society. And then in terms of cosmetic procedures, because this does come up where people might be looking to do, and I have to specify because we want to be clear. Fillers, Botox are different types of procedures that are used to inject different things in people's bodies, especially female, that they're familiar with these things, for breast implants and things like that. This is considered okay per se,
Yeah, in itself, yes.
unless there is known harm, physical harm that it
Of
might
course,
cause.
of course, of course. If it's like, say, some of these things, if they are known to be harmful, carcinogenic, that may cause future issues and problems, then if it's considered harmful, then definitely that's a problem, and that would not be permissible.
So thank you for clarifying. Inshallah, look forward to more sessions.
Yeah.